Hello, everyone, and welcome to Just Asking for a Friend. I'm your host, Thor, and welcome to another episode where we get into the community. We talk to content creators, collectors, artists, people throughout the industry. Today, we have a very special guest. He's a mainstay on Collective Minds. He dabbles in comics. He's a student of the Force. He also into the X-Men, which I'm working on him with that. I'm talking about the one, the only, the infamous Danny Lee.
What's up, Thor?
What's up, man? Oh, man, I'm glad to finally get to holler at you, man.
Yeah, I mean, we streamed a few times ago together, but
yeah.
When you call,
we was closer to the end of my run, you know what I mean? So like it kind of, the timing was bad, but yeah, but thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah. So what I like to start to do at the beginning is like find out, like, because again, we're trying to get to know the person behind the collector, so like we like to find out where you're from and where you grew up, and then eventually we get into like how you started to get into pop culture, and then we go from there,
Okay. Yeah, I've always born and raised in Cupertino, Sunnyvale, California.
Okay.
So I'm in the Bay Area of Northern California, I guess. So yeah, just family. We were in the Chinese restaurant business.
Really?
So I grew up. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to come holler at you for that.
No, they retired. But...
Oh man, because that's Chinese food and Japanese food. That's like my favorite food. I make all this barbecue and stuff, but that's my favorite food.
I need to try your barbecue. So
hey, we're going to switch.
But yeah, I grew up doing that pretty much, school, and then so that'll lead me into, like, I guess, comic books, because across the street from the restaurant growing up was a 7-Eleven. So that was my first experience of
everybody's
the spinner rack. Yeah,
yep.
So I remember my mom would give me like anywhere from 50 cents to $1 just to go over there and buy whatever or play video games.
Yeah.
So I remember one time I took a stab at an X-Men comic. That was like one of my first comics, was the Uncanny X-Men 225. That was a Fall of the Mutants, I believe. Mark Silvestri and Chris Claremont. So that was the first official comic I bought, was off that spinner rack in 7-Eleven. From there on, kind of branched into Batman, and then Green Arrow, and like Justice League, everything else. But I think the mainstay were always, I guess, judging by my long boxes and short boxes, the longest runs I have is X-Men and Batman, pretty much. So those were the consistent.
I think because 7-Eleven was my first comic book shop too. I think the first X-Men I saw, and I might have bought it, was First Class #1.
Oh, okay.
I think so. It was or something like that. And I remember this was like I think it was during Marvel's 75th anniversary. You remember when they had like that border around the outside?
Yeah.
That was and I can't remember if it was Nightcrawler or somebody was on the front. He was kind of waving, and I don't know if that was an Uncanny, but I remember seeing First Class #1, and I might have bought it. I can't remember, but that's around time when I started. It was like around the 75th end.
Yeah, I remember those borders.
Yeah, and I used to a friend of mine, my godbrother, actually, he used to collect G.I. Joe, and I think the first comic I ever had, I can't remember the number. It was a G.I. Joe book. It was the one where Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes were fighting on top of this train in New York City. And
that's the
yeah.
That's the origin of the meeting, I guess.
Is it really? I can't.
Yeah,
I can't. It was old. I mean, we talking about.
I think it's G.I. Joe 27. I think it's G.I. Joe 27.
It was that one, and another one of my favorites was one where oh my God, Ace and Wild Weasel. That's the dude from
Cobra. Yeah. They both had this
on the Rattler, and they had this aerial duel, and it ended up kind of being like they even up breaking like the cockpits and everything. And at the end, and I remember the Baroness was in there with Wild Weasel, and I think Scarlet or Lady J, one of them was in there with Ace, and it was kind of like a stalemate. And at the end, they both kind of did this flyby, and they both did like this, and I was like, that was the sickest thing. And they and on the way, and they flying back to their bases, and neither one of them would speak. and the bears like, why won't you say nothing? And then they were just silent. I was like, that was the most gang at that point in my life. That was the most gangster thing I ever seen in my life, you know, and everything.
No, I started with the cartoons, and then I went back to get the comics. But yeah, those were what's his name? Larry Hama wrote all the original ones. He was a great. He did some great stuff, I think.
Yeah,
a lot of underrated stuff.
Yeah, the G.I. Joe books were good. And I had a few, and then I remember they crossed over with Transformers.
Yeah, and, the 4-part miniseries.
Right, and
where they killed Bumblebee, where they took him apart.
They fired down. It was, you know, it was crazy because some of those, I think, because I read those at a young age, they were really violent, man. Because I remember they had like one of those Transformers books. They had like Prime's head somewhere, and we could Shockwave. He killed somebody on the descent. I was like, wow, what is going on here? And that was before the Transformers movie came out, and I was like, I ain't ready for this. So I stopped reading the Transformer books. You know what I mean? So, but anyway,
even the G.I. Joes were kind of.
Oh yeah,
I felt.
Yeah,
or adult oriented, I guess.
Yeah, it was wild. I was like, this is the 80s, man. What's going on here? You know, but so from there on, from reading books, or like, you know, that's where you started with the books. Where'd you go from there? Like far as cartoons or movies or
it's always been like, I guess, cartoons. Like I watched pretty much the same stuff you watch probably, and a lot of other collectors is, you know, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Silverhawks, Marshall Bravestar, Centurions, you know, all those
stuff,
classics.
Mighty Orbots.
Mighty Orbots. See, not many people know about Mighty Orbots.
I told somebody, I was like, what is that? Because somebody posted a thing on Facebook was saying a cartoon that probably people today don't know about. And somebody was like, what is Mighty Orbots? I was like, it didn't last long, but it was one of my favorites.
Yeah,
you know?
That probably had the best opening
credit. Yeah, Mighty Orbots was tight. And I guess because I had seen Voltron first, and then it kind of, you know, when I saw that, but it still wasn't as tight as Voltron in my opinion, but I still like it, you know.
So you definitely Lions or the cars, the vehicles?
You know what? I actually appreciate both of them.
Same here.
Because I like the Lions, but I always liked how the car ones, how they could like form their own like vehicle kind of thing. Like, you know, I always thought that was cool. So actually,
the little sub teams.
Right. So for Christmas one year, and my mother said, which one? I can't get them both. Which one? I actually wanted the car one because you could form those little, you know what I mean? So I ended up, and then I remember seeing somebody one time I went to summer camp and they had the Lion one. And I was like, I don't like that. So I'm glad I didn't get it, you know. So I ended up getting the car one. And you remember they actually had a movie with both of them. It was called like Fleet of Doom or something. And
I've heard about it, but I actually never saw it.
It came on when I actually bought it at a comic book convention later on, but I remember it came on like one Saturday, and they showed it. And I was like, "What is this?" And it's called Fleet of Doom, and Lotor built his own kind of Voltron thing, and it was like big, you know. So it took both of them to like take him out. So I'm sure it's on YouTube or something, you know.
Yeah, I gotta look for it now.
Yeah, no, it was all right. It was good. So from there, you know, from comics and obviously, you know, you're a Star Wars fan looking behind you and everything. So
Star Wars is probably a very big part of my collecting, I would say. I guess my first was the Return of the Jedi. It was the very first one I saw. And then I went back and saw, you know, rented. This was back, I think it was beta tapes. So I went back and rented the beta of Star Wars and Empire. So I went backwards.
I did a little bit because I started in Empire, but like, okay, so I always like to hear, especially when people see like Jedi first. What was your impression going back to the first one? You know, because obviously it was a lot different than Jedi. You know.
Yeah, I mean, like the Return. I mean, like that was just. I guess it's like watching the prequels now, or not the prequels, but like, you know, the stuff that's going on now. It's like the effects were so much better on Return,
right,
than compared to the first two. I felt.
No, yeah, for sure.
But I mean, but also as a kid, you really kind of, you kind of notice it, but you don't really care too. At the same time, yeah, because it's all brand new and like it's like the effects industry, I guess back then was very new too.
Well, so they invented the stuff as they went along.
Yeah,
with the effects, you know.
So like now you're just like overwhelmed with, you know, TV shows with this and that, and like you just, you know. you're used to seeing amazing things, I guess,
Right.
effects wise. But back then, it's like, whoa, when there's a spaceship moving and it doesn't look like it's held by a string.
Yeah,
Then it's like,
I actually didn't even notice, like, well, clearly when it came out, it wasn't dated, but like until like recent times, and I go back and look at it, and I'm like, okay, it's not like terrible, but like you can notice, okay, this is from another, point in time, and but yeah, what was I gonna say? So which one would you say is your favorite one?
Oh, definitely Empire.
Yeah, there you go.
Whoever doesn't say Empire, there's something wrong.
Oh, I know some people. I know some people that wouldn't.
But, I mean, I guess it depends. But yeah, I mean, as a kid, it was always Return. But as I got older, like I guess high schoolish, that's when I realized, oh, Empire is a way better film overall.
Right. True.
Story wise, the bad, like it's okay for the bad guys to win.
Right. And especially since it's like it I guess that was the first planned, because it really, I mean, in hindsight, it's not really a sequel because they're all episodes of the same story. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like these other things where, okay, the first was successful, so now we're gonna make it like, no, that the story isn't over in episode 4, so you need all this stuff to get completion, but it's just too long to make into one movie, so so I guess we were too young to grasp that concept right away, you know what I mean? But
I did notice, like when I was a kid, when I was watching the tapes, I guess, of New Hope, I was like, why does it say? I mean, I even knew the numerals back then. I was like, why does it say episode 4?
4, yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah, I was like 5, and then you find out that all this other stuff happened. So I guess in hindsight, to me, I always thought that was brilliant that he did that. You know what I mean? Because if he knew that he was going to go back and make these other ones, then because I always say when people ask me how should I watch this, should I start at 1? I said no, definitely start at 4, because to me, if you didn't know who Darth Vader was, like just in general, to me you wouldn't care to go back. Like who cares how he became if you don't know who Darth Vader is? You know what I mean? So it's like, to me, I always thought it's better to watch the original trilogy first and then go back and watch the first 3. And then to me, it's because the gravity's big, especially when him and Obi-Wan fight and everything. And then to me, it's more gripping than if you're just watching it, you don't know, you don't have any idea, whatsoever. What do you think?
I think the way that they released it too is like, that's the better way to watch it. I mean, I don't usually, when I do watch, I don't watch 1 to 6, because come on, let's be real, I don't watch 7, 8, or 9 anymore. Sometimes I will watch 7 just because it has the original characters.
A lot of people say I thought it was okay, but so you're not a fan of the sequels either?
Not really, but I'm not gonna burn the franchise down because of it.
No,
I guess some people give up, I guess, or whatever. But I still enjoy what came before,
right?
And I can always see that as my Star Wars,
right?
I mean, not everyone's gonna hit bat. Not everyone's gonna bat over 300.
No,
you're gonna have some misses. So,
oh, sure, of course.
I just figured, we might go through a lot of misses until we find another hit. You know what I mean? But hopefully we will get that. You got to have hope. The buildings are built on hope.
Yeah, for real. So I think my main problem with them was it was the same concept. You know what I mean? Like if you look at the prequels and you look at the original trilogy,
same formula.
Exactly. And I think they just went and it's okay. To me, it was just they were just trying to make money and grab younger viewers, because you had another Empire, you had another Vader, you had another Emperor, and the prequels was nothing like the original trilogy. Like it was completely different concept whatsoever. And when I heard about what Lucas's concept was, and I was like, wow. And I can see why they didn't do it, because to me it wouldn't cater to younger folks, in my opinion, because Darth Maul was supposed to be like the Emperor. He was a crime boss, and they were building him up to be. And then Darth Talon was supposed to be the apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And I think that would have been great. You know what I mean? And I think if they wanted to do what they did, I think that to me, the First Order shouldn't have been like established. To me, it'd have been better if you just saw them creating the First Order throughout the 3 movies, and then eventually, and at the end, you know what I mean. I think that would have been better instead of just like with the original, just the Empire. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I totally agree with that. Like I felt like just like the Rebels started from scratch. I would have liked to seen the Empire kind of like dig their way back up.
Right. So after Star Wars, I guess we transitioned to. Did you continue to collect books, or you know? Cause I know you probably got into X-Men, the animated series, and all that kind of stuff. And
I did watch the X-Men animated, but I wasn't as in. I guess I wasn't into it as much because I was more into the comics. Like that was more. I was into it more because of the comics,
right?
And the X-Men animated was just kind of like a supplement,
right?
More. It was like a cool, supplement, pretty much.
Don't watch it, Tim. Cover your eyes. No, so I guess what I'm trying to figure. So like, when did I guess fast forward? You know, I guess into adulthood. Like, when did the transition into collecting? Statues of because you collect figures too, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always, I guess, everyone's collected toys. Everyone has action figures. So I've always had action figures all my life from the Kenners, Kenner Star Wars to, like the Toy Biz Marvels. And then, or the Secret Wars. Remember the Secret Wars?
I do. Where they had the shield.
Yeah.
Those are the ones with the shield. Okay,
Kind of like the hologram shield.
Yeah.
So I had those as a kid too. And then, so it's like, I don't know. I always considered that kind of collecting and collecting comics. So I was always collecting comics. So that transition to, I would say, maybe college is when I bought my first, I guess, because I bought Bowens.
There you go.
I had a few Bowens.
There you go.
But like I had them pretty much because I had like bookshelves to hold my comic, like the graphic novels. So it was, how the graphic novels would take up maybe 3/4 of it.
Sure do.
So then there's always like a quarter left. So I bought a few Bowens just to put on in front of the graphic novels pretty much because they can kind of fit there. And I didn't think of it as like, like having a display like this. It's just I wanted to get a few characters that I liked and I thought were cool. And I was going through college, so I didn't have that much money. So I just bought some key characters that I always loved was She-Hulk. So I bought a She-Hulk, which I just rebought because I ended up selling it and I rebought it recently. So I bought the Bowen She-Hulk, the Fantastic Four version.
Oh wow!
And then because I always liked that sculpt even back then better than the original, the purple outfit one.
Right.
So I bought that one. I had the bust also. So I had the full size and the bust. I had the Punisher because to this day I still think that Punisher is one of the best ones. The one where he's pointing the gun out.
Yes,
the MP5
that's
or whatever.
The one. I tell Roddy that all the time. I said, man, that's my favorite Punisher. And for some reason he don't like that one. I was like, man, that's the best one. Yeah, I don't know why.
It kind of breaks my heart a little.
Yeah, I like it. He don't like it.
No, I still think it holds up today.
Yeah, I do too.
I kind of want to re-get that one also. And then I had the scuba suit Cyclops. I think
I like that's my favorite. I like the Cyclops with the hood on. The one from the 90s with all his hair out. I don't like that. You know what I mean? I
still like that one too.
No, I don't like that one. I like when he got his he looks more hardcore to me when he's got the hood on,
Yeah, but out of those two, I felt the scuba suit or the original version looked better than the Jim Lee version, I guess.
The one I always liked, I like the fact, this is what I love about Bowen, that he made the different, I mean, they do with modern statues too, but like he made the X-Force. Though I've always thought those were sick. You know what I mean? With the X-Force Cyclops and Jean Grey, and I think they had Angel too. And Beast, I think they had, in all the X-Force. X Factor. X Factor. I'm sorry, X Factor. Yeah, that's what I meant. And
but to rewind a little bit, actually before Bowens, do you remember DC Direct?
I do.
I had some of those, and I don't know, for some reason I still remember. I guess one of the main sculptors, Tim Bruckner. Like most of the stuff I bought was from him. Like I had Green Arrow because I've always loved Green Arrow, the character. Then I had what else did I have? I had the Wonder Woman. Remember Wonder Woman number 72?
I don't. I didn't read I didn't read Wonder Woman too. I used to watch the show,
Yeah,
but
me too.
I didn't watch it. I didn't read her book until like probably when I started working. I read a few Wonder Womans, but it wasn't.
But there was like a statue that they recreated from a cover, a Brian Bowling cover, Wonder Woman number 72. So I always loved that cover, so I bought that. I think I may have had one. Oh, I had the Jim Lee Hush from the Batman 608 cover, the second printing version. So I had those three. I might have had Alex Ross. Oh, the Shazam. I had the Alex Ross Shazam.
From Kingdom Come, or
Kingdom Come.
Yeah, Kingdom Come. That was a great story. In fact, that's my favorite version of Superman is the Kingdom Come Superman.
That's my most iconic.
Yeah,
I mean, look, I would say.
Yeah. And so, just folks who don't know, before there was omnibus, there was just graphic novels.
Pretty much. Or trade paperbacks, whatever.
Trade paperbacks, pretty much. We just call them graphic novels. But I think a lot of, same for like Star Wars and stuff, a lot of major milestones to me came more in comic books than they did, because I still remember reading The Dark Knight Returns, and I think that was what what started me on the path from childhood to adulthood. When I read that, and he was, they were cussing, and then when he fought Superman, and I said, like, I remember sitting straight up, I was like, what is this? You know what I mean? And it was just, I was like, why is he fighting Super? Because I was too young to like grasp the concept, and that was the only one that I had read. But are you big Dark Knight Returns guy? Because some people don't like it.
No, that's probably my favorite Batman story.
Me too.
Dude, when he was like fighting the mutant, he's like,
right.
This is this is
the operating table.
I'm the surgeon.
Surgeon, yeah. And I swear to God, and I remember one thing was disappointing. I remember when part 2 came out. I mean, I rushed to the comic book shop and I was like, what is this garbage? And did you ever read Dark Knight 2 Returns 2?
Yeah, I didn't like the art style either. It sucked. Everyone was skinnier.
Yeah, I was like, what is this mess?
That was the whole thing about Frank Miller's. I loved his bulkier look, I felt.
Yeah, but I don't know what they did in that one, but the Master Race was good.
Master Race
was good.
Himself.
Yeah, he sure did. So I did read that and everything. So now did you have to? I know there's always a shock, but you sound like you just went into buying bones. Like, did you ever have like a shock of how much they cost, or because I know everybody goes through that usually when they start buying statues.
I did kind of, because that's why I only had I can only name off 3 or 4 that I had.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't own that much. I don't even remember how much they cost. Was it like 100 something back then?
Yeah.
So
they weren't that expensive. Yeah.
I saved up. I mean, like, I definitely, because I worked at that time we didn't have a restaurant anymore. Like, my parents retired. Okay. So I worked at I remember working at a video store and at Round Table. So pretty much all that money was supplementing, like college, beer, and the cool stuff.
Beer.
So it's like,
but what? I don't think people will ever realize, especially nowadays when you got instant streaming and all that kind of stuff. I don't think people will ever realize the joy of going on a Friday night to a video store, and you get all these videos. You get with your friends, you order some pizza, and you just watch all. That was that's one of the happiest memories of my life. Is like going like that. I don't know if anybody remember Arrow's video. Before there was Blockbuster, there was Arrow's. At least on the East Coast.
Blockbuster was probably the first big chain hit. Blockbuster and Warehouse. Did you guys have Warehouse?
Nah, we had before Blockbuster. It was called Arrow's Video, and then Blockbuster showed up, and then they pretty much put Arrow's out of business. But and then I guess later on, then Netflix came along. You ordering stuff through the mail and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that was. I remember watching the Terminator with my mom and everything. She was like, "What? My God, what is it?" You know what I mean? But she loved Arnold, so she didn't care. But
Go on.
So getting into like present time, when did you first start to get a sideshow? And because you collect Hot Toys and 6 scale too, right?
Yeah, I got into Hot Toys. I guess when did it happen? It happened. I was just browsing through sideshow stuff because I always wanted to start like a Star Wars collection
Mm,
because I only had the figures, like the
mhm,
action figures
mm,
before. Like I had the Kenners, and then when they re-released them, they did the power of the, like they had the bulkier guys.
right.
So like during the re-release shows, so then I bought all those, and then so now I was like, I don't know, I'm getting a little older. I feel like I need to step it up a little bit.
Right.
Like that next step to
Yeah.
make it. These are just action figures. So
Mm,
I came across the Hot Toys on Sideshow. So
mm,
then I just started buying a few of them, and next thing you know, it amassed to all these. Like I bought way more than I should have. Like I got into the MCU,
mm.
which I shouldn't. Like now I regret doing it. But it's a learning process. I feel like you
It
have
is.
to, you gotta. I guess every collector goes through that stage where they
Yes.
buy everything they want,
Yes.
and then they realize, oh, I gotta reel it back a
You gotta
little.
reel it
I don't
in.
really like this as much as I thought I did, and I just kept more of the nostalgia. Like even Star Wars, I collected almost
Mm,
every Star Wars, but then I realized I had to just refine to just the Empire.
right.
So I just kept
There you
Stormtrooper.
go.
Yeah, and then I have a little Hoth section. That's about it. So
Yeah.
I pretty
Yeah.
much just realized I had to, and it had to be mostly OT characters
Right.
from the Galactic Empire. And
Yeah, because I mean, I was even explaining one of these. I think I was talking to Junior, and it's even with Star Wars, man. It's just too many characters.
yeah,
It's either you just either got to just go force use it. It's like it's almost unless you got like infinite room. First of all, because now they're bringing the Mandalorians into the mix. Now you got to collect all them and bounty hunters and rebels. It's just too much.
yeah,
Yeah. So
it gets really overwhelming. So I think I guess like if a lot of people ask like, hey, what should I do? What should I do? And you can explain as much as you can, like, hey, try to stay to focus. But I don't think a collector can really learn until they make mistakes, I
right,
guess.
right,
Just like anything in life, you kind of have to make those mistakes to learn from them in a sense.
right.
Because there's no way you can live a
No, I
perfect course.
mean, I can now. I mean, before it was hard, but it's just over the time collecting. It's you just learn, especially now with shipping and now
Yeah.
they're charging tax and all that kind of stuff, and it's just it's sometimes more trouble than it's worth. And then you got to find some way to display it and
Yeah.
boxes. That's the boxes pile up. So the boxes become
Yeah,
a
I'm,
problem.
I'm learning about that right now. But
Where you store your boxes?
I put it's like half the garage is pretty much full boxes, and any like open area in the closet or
Right.
yeah, it's pretty much. So I mean, I don't want to rent. I'm thinking about buying an outdoor shed,
There you go.
like
That's where I put mine.
weatherproof it, so I can just stick those in there because I don't want to rent. I mean, it's just like how I don't I plan to collect forever, so it's like you're just gonna pay rent forever on just boxes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's another problem because I know someone I used to work with. She told me one time she put her stuff in storage, and I think King had this problem too, that they had like a weather breach or something, and it kind of flooded in the unit, and it's just your fault. Like you got to buy if you don't buy insurance or something, then it's they just yeah. So she lost all her.
You're still not protected, I guess, right?
That's what I'm saying. So it's like you can store stuff all you want, but if something happens and it's
like
not
an act of God.
yeah, exactly, act of God, and it's like okay, well, and I guess that's why they tell you pull out insurance on all your stuff and everything, but still, that's messed up. It's like you lost all your boxes.
Yeah, I mean, I get if people have to do it because that's the only option they can, but I don't know. Just for me, I don't want to pay rent.
I don't either,
and I don't know when it's gonna end. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it's gonna go forever. So it's just like money I could be spending. I'd rather I just invest into a shed,
right,
than to have that infinite rent. I guess that you don't know when it's gonna end.
Now, are you confined just to that room with your collecting, or is it you get expanding throughout the house?
Pretty much, yeah. This is like my office, but I was thinking downstairs I have like over the fireplace is a Jesus, like maybe 25 to 30 feet long, like 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 shelf.
Right.
I was thinking about putting X-Men down there because I was gonna split up because I still don't know what I'm gonna do with my statue display. Like I'm still working on that. Like I have a few out here, and then most of them are like they're like on any open areas, and there's spare bedroom and stuff like that.
Right.
Until I figure out my proper display.
So you got like X-Men stuff in other places, and
pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
But I want to dedicate, I guess, that downstairs area, maybe just for X-Men, and then here just Star Wars. Because I was gonna do both here.
And yeah, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do it. No, you can't do it. you can't do that.
So I mean, I just kind of realized that maybe a few weeks ago because I was downstairs. I was like, if I get rid of all those pictures and just put the X-Men, I was like, that can accommodate the X-Men.
Yeah.
So I was like, then I can have more room here for because I don't know, like some of these custom companies are making some ships that I'm interested in, so I need that room here. So,
so I see you got module cases. Is that mostly for the 1/6? Or you planning on getting some for the statues too, or?
I got mostly for the 1/6 because they have fabric, and I'm the laziest guy when it comes to dusting, and I just want them enclosed in there for that reason. Because once it gets on fabric, I mean, like polystone is different. You can brush it off, all that stuff. But I didn't know how it's gonna affect like certain mixed media or the clothing. I guess the cloth material. So I just in the back of my mind, I was like, I've always wanted it behind glass for the 1/6 at least.
Right.
But statues, I kind of do think I will go module case just to keep a cohesive look, I guess, the displays, but I am open to whatever.
Right.
I mean, module cases is probably just the go-to, my safe go-to, I guess I can go to. But if I find something else or someone recommends something else, then I'm open. I'm always open.
Were they hard to assemble? Because I heard they were kind of hard to assemble a little bit.
They are. I guess for me and most people, I felt like it takes like maybe 2 or 3 units before you kind of get the learning curve, and then I remember like the first 2 or 3, like they were maybe an hour to build.
Right. Wow.
And then after that, it was like 20 minutes.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay. Like once you kind of get the hang of things, they're easy.
Yeah, it's kind of like that with detox. I got the first one I put together. It took like 3 hours. Like, good God. Then after a while, you're like, okay, it's just simple to put together. Now that as far as with you collecting both statues and hot toys 1/6 scale, are you more like in awe of 6 scale or statues, or is it just like about even or
I definitely have more 1/6. I think I have maybe 60 figures, I think. Statues, I'm at maybe just over 20 now.
No, what I mean is like when you okay, how do I put this? Were you more amazed like from statues?
Okay, like the presence.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough, really. Because this is how I guess I'll break down how I differentiate my approach to how I want things in 1/6, and because I have statues too. So like for the 1/6, this is how I see it. This is what I like to do. Like I had a vision of I wanted the throne room, like I wanted kind of like an Emperor's throne room with Vader and five stormtroopers behind him. Then you have his the military guys, you have Moff Tarkin and then Director Krennic. They are flanked by Death Troopers and Shadow Troopers. And then I have like all these, like troopers. Like you
troopers.
You just can't realistically, I think,
that's true,
have that panoramic view with statues.
That's true.
And these are like, not to say that they're nobody characters, but they're all helmeted characters. So I think for this, my envisionment, I felt like to have the widescreen or the panoramic view is better for Hot Toys, and you can have more and they can interact better. I feel and pose. I do like
I
to
agree.
pose a little, and I like having statues. Seeing the sculptors pose theirs too. Like I want to see their vision. But then I also kind of like posing too. So that's why I like the 1/6 stuff also. But so that's kind of like how I kind of break it down. Is like that's why I kept Galactic Empire for this, and for statues I'll get individual characters.
Yeah,
so they can stand alone. You know what I mean?
That's one thing I was always envious, especially with Star Wars, is because I'm not, I had a couple at the beginning. I had a couple of hot toys, but I sold them. But I'm not a big poser. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a patient person, but like far stuff with that, I just couldn't do it. Because I had the Sideshow 1/6 scale Jabba.
Oh yeah.
And then I had Bib Fortuna, and then I had Boba, and then I was gonna make like the whole throne room, but like I didn't have enough room. And then two, I was just like, and I remember it, to me, it just didn't look right with the rest of the statue. I said, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this. So I sold all that stuff. And it was just me, but I'm not dissing anybody. But like what you have, your setup looks great, and you got shock troopers and all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just felt like the vision for that, because like if you go Stormtrooper wise, I can't do that with the statues, because like you can have what Sideshow has one, then 2 custom companies have theirs, so I might have 3 at most, unless they swap out torsos. You know what I mean? So like they're always going to be on that fixed pose. Whereas
and plus the problem is to fit them all together with the bases and everything. Because I know the Sideshow Death Trooper, the base is huge. I've seen it a couple times, and it just you couldn't. And like you said, they all pose the same way, so it would be. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, because like Vader, like I wanted Vader to have his Legion, like his 501st Vader's fist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted him surrounded by stormtroopers, like when he storms into the 10 of 4, or is it 10 of 5? 10 of 4.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
But yeah, pretty much like that's how I always envision Vader. It's when he storms through there and he's got his crew behind, like he's got his storm, just they're backing him up. So I always had that vision. So that's why I liked having him surrounded by, and I could buy 5 stormtroopers and just pose them all differently, a little bit differently, to be surrounding him, and the space. Like that's the thing about the troopers is you have to. They're trooper, like you're building trooper builds, so you have to. I liked having more. You can't just have one stormtrooper in my mind. So that's why I feel it's better for me 1/6. Like I'll have more. Whereas like these individual Jedi characters, I can just buy a statue first, because I'm just showcasing that one individual character only. Whereas these are kind of more interacting together, I guess.
Right. And like you say, now that some of these custom groups, they starting to pump out characters that we never thought we would see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And did you get in on that Mace Windu or no?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Because I was gonna stay with because you kind of influenced me a little bit on what I want to do. What I want to do with my quarter scale, I guess, Star Wars, is because you're always known as the Sith guy. So I was like, I kind of want to do the Jedi, the Jedi Masters, and specifically the aliens characters, because I've always loved. That's another thing about the Star Wars is I got into the art of books. So like, I really fell in love with the concept art and like the concept designers like inventing these characters that some only maybe have like less than 2 seconds on screen.
Right.
But they put so much time and energy into.
They sure did.
These characters, and like they look amazing on paper. So like my mind wanders like, oh geez, like what like what other stories can we get from these characters? Which they did give us with the Clone Wars. Like they went in depth with almost every Jedi Master in the Clone Wars. So
yeah, I've always wanted to see somebody, and I'm sure somebody's out there, collect and do. I can't do it because I can't handle Jedi out here, but to do like with this and have just Jedi, and now they're making it possible with all these, these groups making, Qui-Gon and Mace Windu.
Because I have Plo Koon.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I used to have that
Shakti.
Yeah, I used to have that Shakti. That's an amazing. Amazing piece.
After I saw your video,
Yeah.
I went to go look for it.
In fact, I think I sold that to the producer.
Oh.
I think so. But that's an amazing piece. That's a great piece, man.
Dude, Mark Newman. So.
Yeah, Mark Newman sure is. Now, as far as the rest of your family, are there any other collectors in your family or no?
There were, like, my dad, he used to collect stamps.
Okay.
So I never got into it, but I just remember my dad was always into stamps. He has like binders and binders of them. I remember, like, even when I would get like certain, because I was always buying certain things from overseas. So sometimes they'll send a package and they'll have the stamps from whatever country they came from. And I remember back then my dad would be like, he'd watch me unbox the things and then he'd just like beeline for the paper wrappings. I was like, what are you doing? And like he just tear off the stamps. And that's when I found out he actually had a stamp collection because I never knew for the longest time. So he had a stamp collection. My brother, he has a sports card collection.
Older brother, younger brother?
Older by 2 years. So he runs a shop too. He has his own shop. So he made it into a business. And I mean, we both kind of collected comics and cards, but for some reason, I guess in high school, we both went into two directions. I stayed comics and he stayed sports cards.
Now, what is he more into, like football or baseball or
everything? Football, baseball, hockey, basketball, all and some of the trading card or the movie cards, I guess. Like he has some of the Star Wars stuff and like Lord of the Rings, those things too.
I used to collect a few cards. Like I'm out of anything, I'm more of an NFL fan. So like this was like in the early 90s. I would collect like I remember I had like a rookie Warren Sapp card. I wish I'd have kept that. And and I would get stuff like that. Every time the draft came out, I would wait for the cards to come out, and I would get those. Now, as far as back to comics for a second, are you a big slab guy, or you just you don't slab?
I have everything, but I mean I have everything loose, but for right now I have evolved more into, I guess, a slab collector because I see like you're kind of finding that next, I guess, collecting thing to do. Right. And I felt slabs is the next thing. It's like because everybody has, let's say, like a Spider-Man #1, like the McFarlane one. Mm-hmm. But to have a 9.8 or higher, not everyone has it. I mean, there's still abundance of them, but it's kind of like a higher or a lower niche of having that, I guess. So that's how I went into slabs because I don't know. I separate two things. I separate comics from this stuff. Like I don't put prices on this stuff. Like I don't see it as resale types things. It's cool if an item does go up in value, I guess. Comics I do think differently because I think it's more of a commodity, I guess. So I do hold value and I do see it as an investment. So I see it as like things that I'm knocking two things. I'm killing. I'm knocking two things out at one time. It's investment and the fun of comics for me. So
now, does it bother you? Because I know, right? I mean, I don't mind having a couple. I don't know if I'd have a whole lot. Does it bother you that you can't read them or?
No, because I have them.
Okay.
I mean, I have.
You have like another one
in trade. Yeah, a lot of my stuff I went omnibus or trades.
Right.
So or digital, but there's not an issue of not being able to read them. Yeah.
So how did I hear you? How'd you get this nickname, Mr. 9.8?
Oh, because I don't know. They're always asking me like, what like people always asking me like what my criteria is. For me, I mean, it's not just me. It's a lot of people. I guess it's just a lot of people, or the people. Some people in the collect art, in the statue or 1/6 community don't collect comics as much. But it's very common.
Which I find surprising.
Yeah, I thought they would be.
That shocks me a little bit.
But I think everybody does collect at some point. They had a collection at some point. It's just they don't continue, I guess.
I don't know. I find half the people that collect these statues have never picked up a comic book, and I'm shocked by that.
That out too.
Ain't that crazy? I'm like, well, most I guess it's cartoons or movies or MCU or something like that, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, that shocks me a little bit. But anyway, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, so the 9.8 is like it's just I guess a common thing where because the modern comics everyone took care of it, like from I'd say 90s and up, everyone directly put them in a bag and board. So there's no reason for it not to be 9.8 kind of unless you really threw it around. Like people started collecting at that time, so I have a criteria of like if I buy a book that's like 90s and to now, it has to be a 9.8 because otherwise, if it's a 9.6, the price range drops. So it's just a financial thing too, or a money thing. It's like, why would I like a 9.8? A difference between 9.8 and a 9.6 is a 0.2. You know, like the grading is just 0.2, but the value is almost double to triple to quadruple. So it's like.
Now, I haven't seen anything. Do they go above that? Because I've never seen anything above a 9.8. Just me personally.
There's 9.9. There's 9.9s and 10s. Those are
really
10s are super rare. It's gem mint.
There you go.
Pretty much. So, and then 9.9 is, it's still categorized as, I think not gem mint, but it's still near mint. It's near mint / gem mint, I guess. So, those 10s are, and the only way you can get them is the graphic novels. Because they're square bound.
Right.
So pretty much those are very high 10s, but it's very hard. And those, if 9.8s are sometimes double to quadruple, dude, 9.9s and 10, like a 10 is like even no name.
Daggone impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, even no name comics are worth something just because it's a 10.
That's crazy.
I've never owned it. Do you know Luke from Australia?
I do, yeah.
He has 10s of pit number 1s.
Really? So
he's probably one of the only people I know that has a 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember when those came out. Do you do a lot of like? Because I knew you out there in Cali. You go to San Diego Comic-Con a lot, or?
Yeah, I used to go all the time, and then it got to the point where it just became too
many people.
It's too more multimedia, and it's like you have to. I remember going when you can go the weekend before and planning it. Like, hey, next week is the con. Let's go. Now you have to pretty much plan a year in advance. So it's like a real vacation. Yeah. So it got too crazy. It got too much. Like it was like, okay, like it's more of a fun thing to go to, but I don't want to make it like a destination holiday, to go to San Diego Comic-Con.
One thing about it, at least with me, and a lot of people surprised, like I don't want to go to these panels and stuff. Because one, I don't want to know how they do stuff. Like I don't want to know that this thing was on a string. I mean, I know what it is, but I don't want to know that. It kind of just takes some of the magic away from me. So and even when the DVDs and stuff come out, I don't watch the making of and all that stuff because I don't, So I really, if I go, I don't go to see that. Even though they do announcements and all that kind of stuff. But I think I'd rather just go to see the statues that's coming out and, like you said, go to the comic thing and get the slabs and all that kind of thing. And now I do have one. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that's the thing is now, like I stopped going, but then now, like what re-sparked my wanting to go cons is now it's kind of like a hub where you can meet up with other collectors. So
I've seen a few pictures.
Yeah, I met Chris Barton, like DT, like everybody, like Ramon. I see all the time, but we went to the con together. And
I'm trying to get Ramon on here too.
Dude, he needs to be. Yeah. And then I met Jerry for the first time. We went to WonderCon. I met Todd. Last year at Celebration, I met PJ.
Okay.
And then I met Todd, and then it's just like you meet a lot of people. I feel like that's now the hub. So I'm going to San Diego Comic-Con this year. The main purpose is to meet other collectors.
Right.
So that's kind of like the focus is that, and I guess the sideshow booth.
And that's another great thing about this hobby is that you meet people literally all over the world.
Yeah.
It still amazes me, to this day that the folks you meet, you would never imagine that other folks everywhere are into doing this. And it's, to me, it's one of the great parts of this hobby, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So and now one thing I didn't get into far as X-Men wise, who's your favorite character? Or
just for X-Men?
Yeah, well, we'll get into Star Wars in a second, but
X-Men would be, I have to say Wolverine.
Okay.
Wolverine or Psylocke. It always goes back and forth.
Psylocke is cool.
Yeah.
She was my favorite to use on Children of the Atom.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I used to love using Psylocke, you know.
I would love for them to make a statue. Like, I'm sure Custom has done it, but I haven't come across it.
Oh,
or it might be before my time.
From the Children of the Atom?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool, you know. And far as Star Wars, who's your favorite character?
I have to break that up into two also.
Okay, that's fine.
It's either it goes back and forth, Boba or Han Solo. I mean, they're kind of arch
really. Now that's strange. Yeah, that's weird. Two mortal when they're not enemy. You know, eventually.
I guess okay for Boba Fett, it's more his look. I love the most.
Right.
Like his concept art, like his design, I really love. Han Solo, I just love the character. Like he's the guy you want to be, pretty much. Right. Like he's.
Well, you definitely want his ride.
Charming. Yeah, he's dude. I just remember like New Hope. Like he's chasing after like a battalion full of stormtroopers,
right?
They're running away until he sees that the bigger lineup, and then you just see him running back. He's like go.
Yeah. So I like the fact
that stuff is fun. I felt.
I like the fact that they were. I mean, not to steal something from Wolverine, the best at what they did as far as smuggling and everything. You know what I mean? And you can see that in Empire by him using all his smuggling tricks and everything to get away from the Empire. And, and so you kind of, I don't want to say art imitates life, but you can see. Now, did you enjoy Solo or what'd you think of that?
I did. I thought I really enjoyed it. There was kind of like a weird trying to get used to I forgot the actor's name. Getting used to seeing him, but then you kind of see his mannerisms.
Albert, I think his name. I forgot his name.
But yeah, you kind of get he kind of does the Harrison Ford mannerisms.
He does.
So I was a fan. I can't say I didn't like it.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. And again, I just wish at the end they would have showed up at Jabba's palace and just and that way we would and because remember when they kept talking about the gangster, they were talking about Jabba. And I thought they should have shown up and at the end, and then here's Jabba, and then you hear him and then just it cuts off.
Yeah, I never even thought of that.
Yeah, I think that would have been perfect with it. But again, I maintain to this day, the way he met Chewbacca was perfect. Like they couldn't. The whole thing. Yeah. Like when the minute they said the Beast, I said that's Chewbacca. I just knew it. I said that's Chewbacca. And so he got down there, and you just see him. We see his feet walk out, and I said, "That's true." And then he said, "Oh," I was like,
"Yeah, he knew language."
That was so tight how they did that, man. And even the minute they both sat in the cockpit of the Falcon, like I damn near started crying. You know what I mean? And
you got the line. He can pull the sockets off a grown man's
right.
Or anybody's.
Yeah, right.
So that was cool to get that.
The only thing I thought was stupid was that droid that was supposed to have a relationship with Lando. I was like, are we really?
Oh,
yeah. I thought that was.
I forgot the name.
Yeah, I forgot her name too. But I was
like the fact that they put her into that became the Falcon's navigation system.
Exactly. But that makes sense though, because remember in Empire when he says he tells 3PO, "I need you to talk to the Falcon." And I was like, why did he talk to a ship? And so that kind of made that make sense.
Yeah,
a little bit.
So I like that.
Right. But and even Gambino, I mean,
I felt he was better than Han. I felt
if you closed your eyes and just listened to him, you swear to God that was Billy D. Williams. Like I was like, man, he got and like you said, the mannerisms and everything. I said he got him down to a T. And so I hope they at the very least, I hope they make that into a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would love to see more of their interaction because you got a sampling of because like when you saw them get together in Empire, you knew there was something behind. Like they had a backstory, and you got an inkling of that. In Solo, I would have loved them having their own show, maybe of their adventures, I guess.
So, have you checked out this new stuff like Mando and Visions and Rebels and all that stuff? And what do you think about those?
Of course, I've watched the live actions, the anime stuff. I watched Visions. I think I watched only a few episodes, and I didn't get into it.
So you haven't watched this? You didn't watch this new season at all.
I didn't watch the new season. Like the first season, I think I watched only 3 or 4 episodes, or three segments or 4 segments, whatever they're short, right?
They're short. They're like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I
They're not
didn't.
long. Yeah.
It just didn't capture my attention. Like I still haven't finished Bad Batch. Also,
Bad Batch has been good.
I haven't watched the second season, but the first season I finished and I enjoyed it. But Mando and
as far as visions go, I halfway agree. Some of those episodes are really good. Like the one last year with the first one that came on, where the lady had the umbrella with the sabers and everything. That one was really good. They got one like that on this season. And to me, it's really like 1 or 2 per season with vision that you need to see. But other than that, I kind of agree. Some of them are really kiddie.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't need, like some of them I don't even want. Like, I don't need to see this one. and have you watched Tales of the Jedi though? That one I think you would like.
That's the one with
It's about Dooku and how he turned to the dark side.
I watched them while I was working, so I need to rewatch them. But I did.
Those are good.
It had Dooku and had Ahsoka too, right?
Ahsoka's in it. Showed when Ahsoka was born.
Yeah.
And everything, and those are really good. I would highly recommend those.
That's the thing is, I watched them while I had them in the background when I was working, so I need to rewatch them where I can focus.
Right.
But from what I remembered, they look pretty good.
Yeah. Those are. I would recommend those. And are you looking forward to the Ahsoka live series coming out?
Yeah. From the trailer, definitely. The fact that they teased the Grand Admiral Thrawn, like I'm getting goosebumps. I want to see more of him because I like what I only know of him from Rebels. I never read the books.
Yeah, he's from the old. I forgot the name of the. Oh my God, Shadow of the Empire, I think it was, or something. But I say this about the live action one. I'm sure he's going to do a great job. I wanted them to get Cumberbatch to play Thrawn. Like I said, man, please get Cumberbatch, but they didn't. I was like, okay, because he's the guy that does the voice. Yeah. That's Mads Mikkelsen's brother.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He should do a decent job because he knows the character. Yeah, he knows the character.
But I just selfishly, thought that Cumberbatch would make a fantastic Thrawn.
That you mentioned that. Yeah, I can totally see Cumberbatch playing that role.
Yeah, and I thought since he's already under the Disney umbrella doing Doctor Strange, I said, there's a chance. But like, but anywho, you can't have everything.
Yeah.
But we getting close to the end here, man. Any final thoughts? Anything you had to ask me? Because
Okay, for me, I do have one thing because I'm kind of going through a little dilemma with I guess I don't know if you can see him, but like my Han Solo on Hoth, I bought 2 versions. I have the blue and the brown. So what's your iconic Hoth Han? Is it blue jacket or brown jacket?
I would say, dang, I'm trying to remember the one where he saved Luke when he was out there. Whichever the one. That's the blue one or the black one?
No, the thing is, they say, I guess it's actually brown. The color's brown.
Yeah.
But it's just because of the tint, not the tint, but the reflection from the snow and the lens. I guess they had a tint on the lens.
Right.
Everyone always thought it was blue. And then the Kenner figures was blue and all the action figures were
sure
blue.
Was, yeah.
So my whole childhood, I thought it was blue. Or we all thought it was blue.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it's actually supposed to be brown. And I think they color corrected it for the new releases.
The snow has an effect on it. Because it's actually when it's the light is bright, the reflection off the snow. So I'd probably say brown. It's brown, it's bright. Just like I had the same problem with my Ric Flair belt. And I always thought it was black, but it's actually brown. And they said over time it became dark. And I never knew it was brown. So when I ordered a black strap when it's really brown.
Have you been watching the WWE Treasure show?
Yeah. I watched
all those belts. Those belts don't get shiny. Like they become super dull. It feels like
over time. Yeah. So I wish we'd have gotten wrestling, but anyway, we out of time. But I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a really great show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Hopefully we get your man Ramon on here real soon. And
I'll text him right after and say, hey, you guys jump on.
and be sure to check out Collective Minds and everything. We're gonna have Jerry on here real soon and everything.
Cool.
And we already had Ark on. And thanks for watching, everybody. We catch you next time on Just Ask for a Friend. Peace out.
Bye, guys.